Today's chapter is called Dream Visit. And this, to this day, 17 years later, is actually 17 years to the day that I'm filming this. I had this dream. And it's still as viscerally connecting. And I can just put myself in that moment so clearly. It was amazing. So I'm excited to share this with you. Each Sunday, I'm reading a chapter from Sacred Hellos, Messages from Heaven, my book all about grief and loss. I'm so glad you're here for this next chapter of Sacred Hellos. Dream Visit. Here, I'll show you the illustration. The idea of a dream visit from a deceased loved one was not something I thought about until after my mom passed. Rewind to January 2009. We had been on our honeymoon when my mom died. To get home, we traveled through the night and into the morning as we linked together a taxi ride and 3 flights that eventually got us back to Minneapolis. After spending the evening with my family, we made it home. I was exhausted and glad to be in my own bed. That night, I had a dream. The group of people I was with in the dream turned to the left as we walked through this large room. Imagine part of a hotel ballroom sort of feel. Eventually, we turned to our left again, and at the back of the room, we exited through a set of double doors. These doors opened up to a room full of people. Ahead of me, people were hugging, talking, taking photos together. When I looked straight forward about 20 feet, my mom walked out of the hallway and came towards me. She came face to face with me. Even now, years later, I can remember this exact feeling of her face being inches from mine. So in the dream, slowly she smiled, and we energetically poured love into one another as we joyfully looked into one another's eyes. I lifted my hands like this around her face. So I remember just looking at her like this. I lifted my hand into a V shape and gently cradled her chin and cheeks, holding her face so gently and lovingly as we continued to fill each other up with love. I can still picture the sparkle of her eyes looking at me, knowing and assuring. We then turned around and took pictures together, smiling with friends and family. It was a joyful and beautiful experience. I awoke with a deep feeling of peace. Every detail from that dream felt so real and so full of love and good energy. I have carried a peaceful gift from that dream every day since, even throughout the sadness. 2 days after that dream, my family was touring the newest local funeral home. Our whole family commented how this place felt like my mom had decorated it. We walked through the area where her funeral was to be held. We started in the front of the room where her casket would be, and then we turned and walked towards the back of the room. And then we turned left and walked through the rear doors into the lobby. I gasped. It was exactly like my dream. The lobby where all the people had gathered after I exited the double doors was the same. I looked behind me and the doors matched, and in front of me, where the people had been taking photos in my dream, was an open sitting and gathering area. I looked straight ahead about 20 feet, the area where my mom had walked from in my dream. It was the kitchen and the serving area of the funeral home. My mom loved to cook and entertain, especially in her final years. I had told the whole family about my dream days before, so then to see the funeral home for the first time, it was such an amazing validation. I was able to instantly show them how the rooms fit in my dream, re-going over the exact dream and each part of that in the space. Over a decade later, I can still picture her face in my hands and that look of pure love as she stared at me. I can viscerally feel the unconditional love she and I exchanged. I have had people ask me over the years about dream visits. From what I know, you can tell when it's a dream visit versus just a dream, when it's clear and vivid. The dream will stick with you and will have an overwhelming feel of knowing or connection. I've had other dreams of my mom in the years since. Ones where we were doing activities together. Others where I noticed her sitting in the kitchen during a family gathering, and I struggle to scream in excitement to let everyone know she's there. Those are a gift as well, but they do not carry the same visit quality and feeling of that first dream. Anytime I wake from a dream with her in it, I always feel gratitude, though. It's like when we visit a friend and then we come home, that visit and the gifts from that visit are real, even if we're no longer with that friend. That same feeling of gratitude and appreciation can come from a dream. It was time with my version of her talking and laughing. Here's the illustrations from that page. And Minneapolis in the background. It's really interesting how many times through the years that picturing her in such a complete state of joy and peace after having a rough last few years for her, I know she'd agree with me. I always feel like I'm abandoning her a little bit when I speak about her now and what she was really going through, but I do it in the hopes that if someone else is in that same space, they can learn from it, and I think she would want that. That she couldn't see her, she was so in it, and she was going through menopause, and she had just had surgery, and her kids were going through things, and she was so in it all, she couldn't see how she fit in it all. And she was carrying the weight of all of it for all of us. And couldn't see how bright her light was. She was the most loving, caring person and would make sure everybody knew that they were loved and cared for. And somehow with herself had a harder time putting that same love back on herself. And it was easier for her to pour it into us kids and our friends and her husband. So imagining her so at peace and so full of joy gives me such peace now. And that's how I choose to remember her, is that version of her where she's got her spark. Her soul is at peace, and I still get to remember all the good things about her and all that she infused into me and everybody who met her. Next week, I'm going to share another chapter. I'm reading a chapter every Sunday. Next week is called I Hate Everyone. And hate maybe is a strong word, but there was a time after loss where everybody was irritating. The world irritated me. I'll share about that next week. So I invite you back, as well as I invite you to go back and watch the past videos from this series where I've started reading things about what are sacred hellos, tips to noticing the signs, the day that my mom passed, talking about that. One thing to do after a death that nobody tells you. The time my mom interfered with her own funeral. Losing a pet. The weeks after. And what life was like when you have to start showing back up for life again and you're not quite ready. And then also the grieving superpower. This tunnel that happens when you're deep in the grief where everything else is kind of blurry and you have the superpower though. As hard as it is, there are gifts that come from that time, and I talk about those in that first video. So I invite you to go back and watch those. This book, if you're interested, is available on Amazon in paperback or Kindle. So I invite you to check that out. I'll put the link in the description, as well as some of those other video links in there as well. If you've had a dream visit, I would love for you to share. Let us all share in your gift of the visit. Or if you're not sure and you just want to talk about it, I invite you to do so in the comments, and we are only here to support you. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you will join me again soon. Bye.